So yeah, thanks for being here today, Maddie and Zainab. And thanks everyone for joining us as well. Sorry about this little technical issue. Hopefully we can get that sorted out. But today we're joined by Maddie Fuller, who is a career success. Sorry, I can't even speak. Who is a career success specialist at Juno College, as well as Zainab is also a career success specialist at Juno College. So Maddie, where she connects new developers to their first tech jobs through one-to-one support and coaching. Prior to working at Juno, she worked in different positions within post-secondary and technology. Maddie also sits on the YWCA Hamilton's Philanthropy Committee and in the chair for the Hamilton Chambers of Commerce Young Entrepreneurs and Professionals Executive Committee. Zainab Kahera is originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and she currently lives in Montreal. Her life's work is centered around helping people find a job and career that aligns with their mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical needs. Her professional expertise comes from a decade in management, mentorship, recruitment, and hiring in multiple industries. So thanks again, guys, for presenting. And sorry about the technical issue there. Hopefully we can get it sorted out.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. Yes, so my name's Maddie, and my colleague Zainab should be joining us shortly. She's just trying to figure out her camera so you can all see her beautiful face. But yes, we're here today from Juno College, and we'll be talking about career pivoting 101 for new grads. So for some of you that may have just finished an academic program or, finished within the past couple years, we're hoping that this presentation will help you. Oh, there she is. Wonderful, wonderful. Good timing too.
Thank you, Safari.
Yeah, shout out Safari. But yeah, we're hoping that this presentation can all make you rethink and redo kind of what you think your career path looks like going forward, and maybe have some insightful questions and conversations towards the end. So if you do have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, I encourage you to use the chat. We would love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions. Awesome. So yes, as I said, the agenda for the next little while, we'll be doing a quick intro of Juno College, and then 2 sections that me and Zainab will be doing respectively of rethink. So how do we rethink a career path, and redo? So how do we then kind of redo a career path and look towards pivoting your career, and then some next steps. So yes, as I said, career success specialist. I'm on the right, Zainab's on the left, and we work at Juno College, where we help career pivoters on the daily basis make that 180 career change. And people are coming from all walks of life. We have lawyers, we have dog walkers, we have marketing executives, you name it. And we also have a lot of recent grads that finished an array of different academic programs and came to Juno to kind of upskill their technical skills. So yeah, as I said, just a quick what is Juno, in case someone's like, I've never heard of this college before. Juno is a private career college. It's a postgraduate coding school that helps you build a fulfilling career as a web developer. So our campus is in downtown Toronto, right at Queen's Banana by that one McDonald's, but we're currently 100% online. So we currently have a front-end development and a brand new data analytics bootcamp as well. And a little bit of fun fact, we've had 8 cohorts of wonderful people go through bootcamp and find jobs over the past year. Our most recent cohort has a 92% placement rate, which is really, really awesome to see, especially in a pandemic. So again, if you're interested in learning more about Juno, would be happy to chat about that at the end of the presentation. But for the time being, our presentation is for any career changes. Even if you would never want to code in your life, that's completely okay. Awesome. So I want to start my portion of the presentation with a little bit of a story of final year Maddie. So this is a picture. You might be able to guess where this is if you've ever been to the Brock University campus, but I went to Brock University, and this is towards the end of my degree at Brock in 2017, where I was trying to think, what am I going to do next with my life? I just finished with a political science degree, and not going to lie, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, what am I going to do with, I know what I can do with a political science degree, but what if I don't want to do any of those things? What if I, enjoyed my experience so far, but I want to look into something else? And I quickly realized that what really made my degree wasn't necessarily, the specific degree I took, but was the knowledge and was the experience and was even the network that I grew while I was at Brock. So I continued on my merry way after I graduated, and I ended up being a career success specialist after taking a political science degree. So it shows you can really do anything. But I'm going to kind of use final year Maddie as kind of a poster child throughout the rest of my session, because I have pivoted careers many times throughout my career, and I always like looking back to understand what I was really thinking throughout that time and how open I was to changing careers. And kind of a question for all of you as well, a few questions to kind of get your mind working a bit around this idea of rethinking. But why did you select your post-secondary major? If you were to ask me this question, I would say I honestly do not remember whatsoever. But some people know that exact moment why they took their major, which I'm very happy for you. That is amazing. But some of us, we've changed a lot. You've changed a lot. You are a different person than first year you. So the reason why I took political science, decided to apply to different political science degrees in my, grade 12, whatever class, is very different to what I was experiencing when I was in my final year of university. And that is totally okay. So we want to normalize this idea of like, of course you're a different person than first year you. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck in the degree that you applied, that you went through a 4-year program in, that you're stuck to, all of the specific, maybe industry or area specific knowledge you gain. So just remembering, why did you select your post-secondary major? And also on top of that, remembering that you're a different person than first year you. And the reason why I ask those questions is because I really want to talk about rethinking our career paths. And I put a picture of my favorite book up right here. It's called Think Again by Adam Grant. It's a great book. Highly recommend, because this portion of the presentation is really based on some of the things he said about rethinking in societies, and then especially rethinking what you think of yourself. But growing up, we've always been asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I think it's a question we always ask little kids. I was asked that last week. So I think it's always a question that always comes back to like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to know what you want to be. Even when you're, from when you're 4 to when you're 21, it's really hard. So really like straying away from that question and also rethinking that question is that it's not a bad thing to answer that question with a whole bunch of different options. It doesn't just have to be like one pathway. So on that, Adam Grant actually suggests that we continue to rethink our career plan instead of setting it in stone. Obviously, decisions have to be made when you accept a job offer. You want to stay there for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years to build up your skills. But it's always great to continue to rethink your career path and a career plan. And I'll share a couple like a few tangible steps in a second. And then Zeinab will get into the actual like steps of how to rethink and continue to work that kind of rethinking muscle. But one of the ways that Adam Grant suggests is throwing out your 10-year plan. So we're always asked, I don't know if you've ever been in an interview and the interviewer asks, what do you want to do? What's your plan in 5 years? Like, what do you want to do in 5 years? And realizing that passions are developed, not discovered. So when we think of our 10-year plan, it's not like you have to, discover your passion during that time. That the whole point of getting a career is discover what you're passionate about, because those things are developed and it might change very much from your first year in your first job out of university or post-secondary to when you enter into the workplace. And another thing that Adam Grant suggests as well is scheduling a life checkup. So very similar to, how we all should be going for checkups on our teeth, on our body, even on our mind. We want to make sure that we're also scheduling a career or life checkup. And this could look like, once or twice a year, assessing how much you're learning. So maybe you took, an elective course in your final year of university. I mean, at Brock, a very famous elective is winemaking. I did not do well in that course, but some people took that course and realized, wow, I learned about wine and I actually want to continue that. Like I felt very excited about it. So I want to continue learning more about it and see where that can develop. You want to assess how your beliefs and goals are evolving. Again, your goals when you came into university are going to be very different now, and that is 100% okay. And whether your next step warrants some rethinking. So what you always thought, for example, if you finished university and you always told yourself, I'm never going to go back to school. I'm not going to do a postgrad. I'm not going to do a master's. But then you realize a step that makes a lot of sense to you may actually warrant some rethinking on how you approach the idea of going back to school. I went back to school a year after I finished my undergrad at Brock, and I went back to school and did a postgrad in HR. I never would have thought that that's where it would lead me, but I listened, I checked in on myself, I checked in on what I was naturally doing at work, naturally what I was attracted to, and that was HR, or at least understanding more about how people work, especially in the workplace. So again, just approaching it with humility as well, which I'll get into in a second. And also beware of tunnel vision. So we have hopes of who we want to be and how we want to lead our lives, which is great. And these images can help inspire us to set bolder goals and guide us toward a path to achieve them. But some of our goals, as broad and wonderful as they may be, may also lead to a little bit of tunnel vision. So for example, rewind to high school, Maddie, I was so into music. I played the saxophone like no one's business. I would go play in jazz clubs. I was that cool. But I realized towards the end that I was so fixated on music. And I realized that's actually not what I even want to take in university. And that's probably why I don't even remember why I took political science. But it can really lead to this idea of tunnel visioning you and making you avoid other opportunities and other pathways that might just be as rewarding or more rewarding. And we don't know how time and circumstances will change what we want. And one of those big circumstances that have impacted all of us over the past year and a couple months is obviously COVID. And locking our life GPS on a single target can give us right directions, of course, but only to one location. When we really want to give a couple more of those, like when you add stops to your route on Google Maps, I don't know if anyone's done that, but you can add different routes to your map. We want to, go have the right directions to multiple locations. Awesome. And ask yourself life checkup questions that you can use. And I know Zeinab's going to be giving some awesome additional reflection questions to ask yourself as well. But when did you form the aspirations you're currently pursuing? And how have you changed since then? Do you have new friends? Did something major happen in your life? Did you, get an opportunity to do a co-op or internship somewhere completely out of your scope? And then maybe if you have gotten your first job out of post-secondary, have you reached a learning plateau in your role or your workplace? And is it time to consider a pivot? And that might be a pivot into a different area within the same company, into a different company. And overall, it takes humility to reconsider our past commitments, especially when we've been asked since we were 4, what do you want to be when you grow up? It can take a lot of humility and self-reflection to reconsider that maybe it's not what we want to do anymore, and to question our present decisions. And also takes curiosity to reimagine our future plans, which is really, really exciting. And remember, just a final note before I pass it on to Zeinab, you graduated with skills, knowledge, and experiences, not a set 25-year career path, as the classic saying, as your parents did. So remember, you're not stuck in a box just because you graduated in a certain thing, and you actually have way more options than you might realize at this point. And now I'm going to hand it off to Zeinab to talk a bit about redoing.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you so much. So when me and Maddie, that's my new nickname for you, Maddie. It's Addie. When we were discussing what we wanted to share at this amazing conference, the underlying theme that we found was that we both experienced a point in our life where we wanted to make a career change. And you may not notice it, but there's over like a 10-year difference between me and Maddie in terms of just when we entered and exited school. But I similarly to her, when I went to my first degree, my bachelor's degree, after I graduated, I started a job, and very quickly, I want to say within 6 months, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work out. So so the picture that you're actually seeing is not from my bachelor's, it's from my master's. And as we get through the presentation, I'll kind of give you a great story as to how I got to this point. But before we go to the next slide, I just wanted to say that this conversation is about normalizing that it's okay to have uncertainty after you've graduated, after you've made, personal and financial investments. It's okay that one thing that you thought was going to work out for you is not the right thing for you. Next slide. Cool. So in the beginning, Maddie talked about rethinking, and then we reframed the action part of redoing. Redoing is really about replanning, so creating a new plan. It's not necessarily about doing everything over. It's about creating a new plan for your future endeavors, right? So one of the things that helps in terms of making a plan is understanding what you're seeking, what outcome you're looking for when you create your plan. So 4 things that I highlighted would be a great starting point is number 1, you want to understand the professional and personal outcomes that you'll receive from your new career. You want to have clarity about the skills and the competencies that you will excel at, or that you do excel at currently. You want to know what steps you need to take to pursue your next career. So will this require further education? And then what are the tools and what time do you need to accomplish this career change? So on the image that you see on the right, it was what I wanted to visualize is regardless if you know what you're going to do next or not, you still should have a plan. Next slide. Great. So let's talk about professional and personal. Oh, I put professional twice. Well, okay, that's all right. It happens sometimes, but emphasis on the professional, but including the personal outcomes. Here are some questions that we want to ask ourselves as we're exploring, as we're going through this process. And one thing you'll notice through this presentation is that it's not necessarily about tangible actions. It's about shifting your mindset, accepting that it's okay to make a change, and utilizing your personal experience to help guide you through your new journey. Okay, so these are the questions that I suggest that you should explore. Number 1, in my previous work or school experience, where did I naturally excel? What activities gave me a sense of accomplishment? What free activities did I do that I would love to get paid for? What do I want for my career? What are my core needs and values? What are my strengths and aptitudes? So soft skills and hard skills, if you know anything about resumes, right? Do I want to specialize in specific technical skills or take on management roles? So these are just some of the examples of questions that if you're trying to figure out where to get started in terms of figuring out what your next step is, that you can ask yourself. Even if you know what career you want to move into, it's still important to explore these questions because you will have doubts. You will second guess your choice, and you want to reinforce that you made the right decision. Next slide. So let's talk about now exploring your skills. So you need to be aware of your skills so that you can honor and affirm the value you bring. So it's not necessarily about proving to other people that you're qualified. It's about proving to yourself and believing in yourself that you have these qualifications, right? That's going to motivate you and drive you through this new career change. So some more questions to ask yourself. What am I good at that I genuinely enjoy doing? This has to do specifically with your skills. How do I add value and make an impact? Should I consider taking a career assessment? So one of the assessments that we use at Juno is plum.io. Thank you, Maddie, for mentioning this in another presentation. I totally stole your idea. And the image, unfortunately, is kind of small, but plum.io does a really great job at identifying your differentiators and then giving you descriptions of how you can use those for specific jobs. So it's kind of small, but you'll see like chief communicator, decision maker, and all of these things can be found if you go to their website, which Maddie shared. Thank you so much, Maddie. But Plum focuses on skills, knowledge, and talents. It matches the criteria to outline which behaviors are most important for being successful in the job. Again, use this regardless if you know or if you don't know what your next career is going to be, because again, it's going to reinforce for yourself that you're making the right decisions and the qualifications that you have. Okay, next slide. Doing the time check because I can run my mouth. So the next thing I want to highlight is now we're talking about tangible action steps, right? So does my new career require additional education or training? A good way to figure this out is to compare the job requirements of the job that you may be looking at compared to your education. Are there enough transferable employable skills, right? So you did an assessment of your skills previously, right? You're going to be using that information as well in terms of assessing the education that you have already acquired and how you can use that into your next career. Write out the technical requirements or identify the technical requirements of the new career, the new job you want to pursue. And then you want to research the potential costs of further education or training. There may be an opportunity, though, for you to pursue this pathway for free. So you want to also research what may be some available free resources. So like LinkedIn, I think, has a partnership with Linda. YouTube has so many resources of information that you can access for free to self-teach, right? Skillshare, and then pursuing volunteer opportunities. So serving others and learning as you serve others, right? And then lastly, sometimes if you're working in a job right out of college, which most people will be because, hello, we need to eat, there may be some resources that your current job can provide. Maximize those, right? They're paying for it for you to get better, regardless if you're going to necessarily continue to work for them or not. Take advantage of those opportunities. Okay. And then lastly, we want to talk about tools and time. So Maddie mentioned in the beginning this idea of getting rid of your 10-year plan. I totally agree with that. However, when you are deciding to make a change and you have a plan for yourself, you need to make sure that it is like you follow the SMART goals format, right? That includes being timely, being measurable, right? So it helps you so much if you create short-term and a long-term pathway. The short term usually is the things that you need to address right now. Long term is you work towards it gradually, but you set yourself a specific timeline. You can hold yourself accountable to that. You don't have to shame yourself if you don't make it, but it makes it more reachable and achievable if you know the timeline that you're reaching for. You want to include time requirements for training or additional education. So how long will, if you need to get a certificate, Juno's bootcamp is 9 weeks. So our students know that they're going to have to dedicate 9 weeks full time to boot camp, right? And then again, set clear deadlines that are achievable. So don't overwhelm yourself with a whole bunch of steps that you realistically may not be able to execute in a certain time frame. Think about the circumstances, the environment, the space that you most excel in, and build your timeline around that. Then identify the tools you need to support yourself through the barriers you may experience, because you are going to experience some barriers. Some may be more significant than others, but as human beings, we have our doubts, we have our fears. Life gets in the way. A panorama happens, and then the entire world shuts down for almost a year. And you have to shift your focus, right? So how can you support yourself when those barriers come? Think about the friends and family or your partner that can help you, that can support you. What kind of mental health support do you need? When I was in grad school, me and my therapist had the best relationship, let me tell you. What type of financial support do you need? Some of the careers that you want to pursue are going to require you to spend more money. Assess can I do this on my own? Will I need help? I don't want to take out a loan. Are there other options besides taking out a loan? Answer those questions. And then also think about, if you have a professional network, how you can utilize it, or how you can start building your professional network to help support you. Next slide. Doing good on time. All right. So just a few more tips. Maddie, did you skip? Yeah, you did. Okay. So I wanted to go back to my experience and just kind of give you a breakdown of how I use all of the steps to get me pretty much to where I am now. So the professional, I loved using professional twice. The outcomes. So I wanted a job that allowed me to serve others. I got very clear about that, especially in college. And that was because I genuinely enjoyed the mentorship opportunities I had through my sorority and wanted to continue having similar interactions. I also worked at a deli, at a bookstore, at Starbucks. And that was a consistent theme for me, was I enjoyed serving others, and I enjoyed having mentorship type relationships. And then exploring my skills and competencies. So all the work experience that I just mentioned, including my first job right out of college, taught me that I managed conflict well and organized and motivated others to get projects accomplished. So I can help you get your stuff done. I can help you pull your stuff together, get you motivated. I also knew how to adapt to people and meet them where they were, regardless of their background. So creating genuine relationships. I felt like I would do really well as an advisor, coach, or a counselor. So I established that those were the things that I really liked doing and the experiences that I really liked having. So that was pretty much the foundation for which I started exploring what I wanted to do. Now I didn't write this down, but I've read a lot of books. I spoke to other people who were in the fields that I mentioned, and that helped me decide, okay, I want to go back to school and get my master's. So because I had a business background, my career change into counseling was going to require me to further my education. So I decided on a master's of education in counseling. It took me 2 years. The 2-year mark started when I decided that I needed to get the heck out of my job because I wasn't going to make it. So I set a goal for myself. I said, Zainab, you got 2 years to figure this out. And I stuck myself to it. It was definitely hard. I doubted myself. The day before I was supposed to submit my application for grad school, I was doubting myself. And one of my employees came into my office because I was an HR manager and told me that he needed to take a break from work because he was going to school. He actually was attending the school that I was applying to. So that was the universe saying, okay, Zainab, get it together. You're supposed to be doing this. So, like I said, it took me 2 years to figure out what to decide, plan, and apply for grad school. Right? I knew I wanted to change my job, but I did not know what I wanted to do. I gave myself those 2 years to figure it out, and I determined my new career plan. Okay. So that's how I utilize those 4 elements, those 4 steps. Last slide. I'm going to zip through it so we can ask questions. So some things I want you to remember. Understand the role that fear and uncertainty plays in this process, okay? Learn how to connect with your journey and how fear is manifesting in it. Identify ways to help yourself navigate and support yourself through those emotions, those feelings, and any other barriers that you may experience. Be prepared to wait. I cannot express this anymore. Decision making about your career is an ongoing process. Maddie talked about that, right? Not an event. You may not have the answer right away, but by asking and exploring, you create the space for the answers to come, right? We're our sources of energy, right? We're atoms, right? When we block things off, we limit energy from entering our space. Having these types of questions opens ourselves up to these opportunities. And then lastly, I wanted to mention visualization. So maybe creating a vision board. Visualization can help improve motivation, coordination, and concentration while reducing fear and anxiety. They allow you to share what you love with others and celebrate the progress you are making. So find tools to help you visualize. And the picture on the right is by Toby Olawole, a really great person that Maddie actually introduced me to on LinkedIn. We haven't quite met in person, but you know how this thing goes. And I wanted to screenshot his slide, which his post was said, great advice, especially for that first job coming out of school, because most of you will probably be getting a job. It's unlikely that your first job or second job will be your dream job. I hope it is, but it's unlikely. So learn everything you can. If you aren't learning, try to earn as much as you can. But if you feel like you're not growing and you also find yourself struggling to get by, then you need something better. Thank you so much. So, oh wait, I'm not done yet. Next steps. I got excited. So the last thing I just wanted to mention is that, as Maddie mentioned, we are work for the Juno team, Juno College of Technology. A lot of our students are individuals who were either right out of post-secondary or have been in the work environment for some people up to 10 years. So it's a safe space if you're reconsidering that, if you want to pursue something new. So if you've ever thought about getting into web development or learning more about web development, we have some workshops coming up. Data 101 workshop on May 13th and then Coding 101 workshop on May 20th. And you can access more information about that at Juno's website, which is junocollege.com. And now we're done. And hopefully we can squeeze in like maybe one question.
Yeah,
if anyone has it.
Yeah, there was one question by Kyler. I'm still in post-secondary and feel a desire to have a life checkup as well. What are the success criteria to making a checkup go to plan? That's a great question. I think like even though you're still in post-secondary, I still would encourage a life checkup, of course. I think like this should be taught even in high school, in my opinion. But I think like success criteria is going to look different for everyone. I even say this when it comes to like posting more on LinkedIn, like what does success look like of like my personal brand, when it's like success criteria is going to be different for everyone.
That's right.
So I think for you, Kyler, I think it's really important to like decide like what does it look like of like what does that role look like for you, and don't necessarily say I want it to be in this industry, I want it to have this task. Really think about like the values that you would like. It's similar to how Zeinab knew what she wanted to do. She wanted to be in a role where she was caring, where she was able to care for people and have that mentorship. So that was her tree branch. You can't just have like one leaf. You got to have like a huge branch with a whole bunch of leaves, because like Zeinab could be in a whole bunch of different roles right now that could feed into her overall mission statement, her overall vision. So I think it's, as long as I think that's a really good first step, is be like, what is my mission statement for myself? And then if you're staying true to that kind of overall branch in your life, I think that is success in my opinion. But that could look different for you. It could mean a certain dollar amount. It could mean a certain number of connections and networking opportunities you're in. But yeah. Anything else, Zeinab?
Yeah, there's more. I can grab the second if you grab the third. So the second was tips to get over posting anxiety. I'll just answer that really quickly. If you're talking about like social media, maybe LinkedIn, this is actually something that we talk about a lot with our Juno students. And so the biggest advice I can tell you is be clear it is about what outcome you want to get from your experience online, specifically with LinkedIn. Are you trying to build your professional network, or are you just trying to learn more about your industry, right? And then once you answer those questions, think about what limitations, what boundaries do you need to create for yourself so that you're not experiencing anxiety. So for me, I know that even as recently, like this week in the world was kind of heavy. So I decided that I was just going to take a break from looking at certain things. If I saw something that was going to trigger me, I would move past it. If I was struggling to move past it, I would just turn it off. And so that allows me to re-energize so that I can focus on the outcomes that I do want to get out of social media. And
Absolutely.
Maddie, I think you answered Olamide's question in the chat. Yes, you did.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. We also have free coaching sessions as well. So if you go to the Juno website, a little window will pop up that will connect you with one of our student success consultants, and I encourage you to speak with them, and then hopefully they can connect you even with one of us to have a free session with you as well. And please feel free to add me and Zeinab on LinkedIn as well.
Yes.
We're happy to answer any other questions or thoughts that you would like to share with us.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for allowing us to go over a little bit.
Typical. Oops.
Thank you, Kyler. Thank you, Olamide. I would say everybody's name, but there's a lot of us, thankfully.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, guys. I just want to jump back on quickly and say thanks for your presentation. It was really great.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for the technical help.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I got it working. But thanks again, guys. It was really great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.